Hit hard, trouble on trouble. Record snow just months after Hurricane Floyd. In depth, why didn't the National Weather Service see this one coming? Family feud. His grandmother's finally visit with Elián Gonzalez, but tonight, that custody fight is worse than ever. Decision 2000. John McCain stumbling over a very personal question on a very tough issue, abortion. And what really brought this plane down? Chilling new revelations about what happened in the cockpit in the final moments.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. North Carolina in good times is one of nature's wonders, a bucolic combination of mountains and coastal plain, shoreline and wild rivers. But for the past 6 months, nature has turned on North Carolina with a vengeance. First, Hurricane Floyd, one of the most destructive storms ever to hit that state. And before wide areas were able to fully recover, this week, a brutal winter storm that tonight still is wrecking lives across the South. Here's NBC's Bob Dotson.
Hundreds of motorists creeping north in the afternoon sun, stranded along Interstate 85 since yesterday afternoon, more than 24 hours. But traffic still backed up 70 miles from the Virginia border to Durham, North Carolina. Some drivers wondering why no one ever came for them.
Who's up here in the car?
Who's up here in the car all night? All 5 of you?
Yeah.
National Guard Humvees try to reach them today,
We can go through almost anything.
but they have to get there first. Most are stationed in the mountains of North Carolina, hundreds of miles away.
We in the South don't have a lot of snow equipment like the cities in the North have.
That is why more than 350,000 people in the Carolinas are still without power. Repairs are slow. Nearly every acre in the state covered with ice. Some brave the bitter cold lining up outside grocery stores. This one in Raleigh is so short of staff, it lets in just 20 customers at a time.
I'm always popular in the storms.
More than 1 million people in North Carolina are trapped in their homes, and for many of them, this is the second major natural disaster to hit in 4 months after the devastating floods of Hurricane Floyd back in September.
When it turns to water, pump it out. When it turns to snow, dig it out.
Linda Sue Anderson had 6 inches of water in her house back then.
Now we have 22 inches of snow in the backyard, and where's that going to go?
And how much is it going to cost? North Carolina has already received nearly $3 billion in aid to rebuild from the floods. And now this, what experts are calling a kind of winter hurricane.
I don't want to live here another year. I would love to get out.
But no one is going far in North Carolina today. Bob Dotson, NBC News, Charlotte.
And in South Florida tonight, the continuing turbulence over the case of Elián Gonzalez. Now, however, a new development. His first meeting with his grandmother since they arrived from Cuba. And as NBC's Kerry Sanders reports, it had all the trappings of a superpower summit meeting when the real issue is the fate of a 6-year-old child. Kerry?
Tom, the meeting is over. It lasted for about 2 hours. The grandmother's finally seeing their grandson. The host of this event saying, quote, "Hope springs eternal." A belief tonight, she says, that despite the mistrust on both sides, today there was some small progress made. 6-year-old Elián Gonzalez leaving the house in Miami's Little Havana with the great-uncle and cousin who want to keep him in the United States. It's been 67 days since this little boy has seen the grandmothers who want to take him back to his father in Cuba. This custody battle now with all the trappings of high-stakes diplomacy. 2 grandmothers from a simple fishing village in Cuba, in effect, the ambassadors. On a private jet from Washington to Miami today. Then a helicopter trip over the city they consider hostile territory. The meeting today on neutral territory at this Miami Beach estate, home of the president of a private Catholic university in Miami. The agenda today, for the grandmothers to see Elián and let him talk to his father in Cuba on the phone.
My expectations that they can see that for this child's sake, they must come together. That's what I hope.
And what about the boy himself? Those caring for him since Thanksgiving Day say he has been anxious about the meeting.
I have more feelings that I had before, and now I feel that He's more to this side than to that side.
This was not a meeting to find out where Elián Gonzalez should eventually live in the United States or Cuba. That may eventually be decided in a courtroom. This family affair with so many political agendas, however, showing signs of progress because of the face-to-face meeting, the grandmothers finally seeing their grandson. Tonight, that boy is back at his home here in Miami's little Havana, while his grandmothers are on a plane on their way to Washington. It's unclear when they'll return to Cuba. Kerry Sanders, NBC News, Miami Beach.
In the presidential campaign, which has now arrived full-blown in snowy New Hampshire, it was at best an awkward day for John McCain, who's been trying to run as an unconventional candidate for the Republican nomination. But today, abortion as an issue tripped him up. And tonight, McCain and the other Republican candidates held their final debate before Tuesday's vote in New Hampshire. Here's NBC's David Bloom.
Tom, John McCain hurt himself today with voters on both sides of the abortion issue by making a series of contradictory statements about what he would do if his 15-year-old daughter became pregnant and wanted to have an abortion.
What for you? Were you worried that this abortion issue?
John McCain, testy and irritated with reporters today, who kept pressing on the abortion question.
What's the matter with you, sir?
But the Arizona senator has only himself to blame. Aboard his campaign bus this morning, McCain told reporters that it would be a, quote, personal, painful decision, but that he would allow his 15-year-old daughter, Megan, to have an abortion.
Obviously, I would encourage her to bring, to know that that baby would be brought up in a warm and loving family. The final decision would be made by Megan with our advice and counsel.
But that is essentially a pro-choice position. And within an hour, McCain, who wants to make abortion illegal, was calling reporters to say he'd misspoke.
Why did you earlier say that it would be up to her?
I didn't understand the question. And what I meant was, and what I'm saying now, it is a family decision. My daughter is a minor.
Keep in mind, this was a hypothetical question, but by late morning, McCain had done a complete about-face, saying it wouldn't be his daughter's decision at all.
And Cindy and I will make that decision.
In tonight's debate, McCain's rival, Republican challenger Alan Keyes, went after him on this issue.
After all, if your daughter came to you and said she was contemplating killing her grandmother for the inheritance, you wouldn't say, let's have a family conference. You look at her and say, just say no, because that is morally wrong.
I have worked very hard for the ban of partial birth abortion. I have sought for approval and legislation requiring parental consent and parental notification. I am proud of that pro-life record, and I will continue to maintain it. I will not draw my children into this discussion. I want to tell you something. I've seen enough killing in my life. I know how precious human life is, and I don't need a lecture from you.
McCain still leads in the polls here, but his contradictory statements didn't help him today. Tom?
Thanks very much, NBC's David Bloom tonight. The two candidates for the Democratic nomination also face off tonight in New Hampshire, and it would appear that Bill Bradley has a lot more writing on this debate than does Al Gore. NBC's Ann Thompson covers the Bradley campaign.
Bill Bradley playing catch-up today in New Hampshire.
Good morning, good morning.
A month ago ahead here, but new polls show him slipping.
His campaign is slightly behind, and they have to fight and be somewhat aggressive to catch up.
So far, Bradley won't take a swing at Vice President Gore, who's been attacking him for months. Today on a radio show, when pressed to be more combative, Bradley refused.
I think it's more important to give something for people to vote for than to vote against.
Instead, the candidate who decries attack politics sent out surrogates to do the bashing for him.
The vice president says that Bill Bradley quit after 18 years of service. I mean, Bill Bradley was fighting in the United States Senate for a woman's right to choose when Al Gore was still voting pro-life.
But Al Gore misses no opportunity to criticize Bradley. Today, attacking him on welfare reform.
Senator Bradley opposed it. He's talked about looking into the future, around corners, and seeing what might lie ahead. Well, he and some others saw a brick wall around that corner.
It's a big gamble for Bradley, trying to run what he calls a campaign of big ideas, calling for a new kind of politics, but facing an opponent who's beating him the old-fashioned way.
Lettuce and tomato?
Nancy Cochran, a Democrat leaning towards Bradley, wishes he would spice things up.
He's a very likable man, and I think he has some good ideas, but he needs to just get out and keep pushing his messages last week as much as he can.
He gets that chance tonight, going one-on-one with Gore.
Looking forward to it.
Tonight's debate, perhaps his last best chance to change minds in New Hampshire, strengthen his position for the big state primaries next month. Ann Thompson, NBC News, Manchester.
Still ahead tonight, our special series, The State of the Union. On the eve of the President's speech to Congress and the country, a special look at the state of the American family.
The traditional roles, at least from my perspective, have been pretty much shattered.
Beyond Leave It to Beaver, the changing face and structure of the American family. In depth tonight, as the East Coast cleans up after that surprise and big storm, the big question, how did forecasters miss this one?
On NBC Interactive.
NBC News in depth tonight, nailing it down, how forecasters predict the weather and why, with the best technology available, they managed to miss this week's massive snowstorm. There are just over 120 National Weather Service offices across the country, and every year they issue from 45 to 50,000 severe weather warnings like thunderstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, and severe winter storms. So what went wrong this time? NBC National correspondent Jim Avila looks at how the Weather Service missed the big one. Tonight in depth.
The National Weather Service makes 2,000 separate forecasts a day, claiming an accuracy rate of 90%, spending $1 billion last decade to get it right. But when they're wrong, no one is happy.
The total forecast package we put out was not good.
The average winter storm can be spotted 3 to 5 days in advance, but yesterday's snow bomb, as forecasters call it, sneaked in off the coast nearly undetected. A nor'easter, predicted to hover harmlessly in the Atlantic, unexpectedly moving west over the nation's most populous region, 76 million people. This time, the warning measured in hours, not days. In fact, Monday afternoon at 3:30, the National Weather Service predicted a 40% chance of snow, accumulations of less than 1 inch, a mere dusting. Not until 10 o'clock Monday night did forecasters issue the first winter storm warning, predicting a 6-inch snowfall. 6 hours later at 4 a.m., the storm hit, dropping up to 28 inches of snow in metropolitan D.C.
None of the models predicted this 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days in advance. The top models from Europe missed it. The models that are run by the military weather offices missed it.
What happened? Why didn't America's best meteorologists see this huge storm coming, even though their latest forecast weapon, a $35 million supercomputer, went online just last week? The National Weather Service says it will take years to figure out what went wrong. First official guess, the computers were fed bad information.
There is some indication that there perhaps was a data problem. You need data to run these models from all over the globe.
An expensive mistake. The United States spends more money than ever on winter storms, $2 billion a year on highway maintenance alone, because getting snowed out is expensive. Yesterday's storm cost more than $5 billion in lost wages, retail sales, and taxes. To dig out of a future storm, in Minnesota, new technology, a computerized snowplow. It sees through snow clouds and whiteout, projecting a virtual road image, and measures the friction between tire and road by computer, telling the driver which chemical to use and how much.
What this system allows you to do is to basically see the roadway when you can't see the roadway.
And a bridge over the Mississippi that senses snow, triggering an automatic de-icer even before the plow arrives.
We're getting better at determining when a storm is going to hit an area, the intensity of the storm, with some exceptions.
Exceptions like yesterday's nor'easter, the National Weather Service forecasters missed, but will never forget. Jim Avila, NBC News, New York.
One more note tonight, while the official forecasters and all their computers were looking the other way as the big storm blew in, the Hagerstown Almanac in Maryland saw it coming. In fact, its forecaster predicted this storm 4 months ago. Up next, the recreation of the last moments of a deadly jet crash. What lessons can be learned from American Flight 1420? In Investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board opened hearings today into the crash landing of American Airlines Flight 1420. The plane came into Little Rock, Arkansas last June in heavy thunderstorms and skidded off the runway in an accident that left 11 dead. Now officials are trying to pin down exactly what happened and how to make sure it doesn't happen again. Here's NBC's Robert Hager.
Do pilots and airlines sometimes take unnecessary chances in bad weather? Investigators hope to learn from this crash in Little Rock, where the plane skidded off the runway after landing with terrible thunderstorms all around. A dramatic moment today as they called the plane's co-pilot, Michael Auriel, and played a computer simulation of the plane's final moments with a transcript of what was said in the cockpit. The plane coming in way right of where it should have been, Auriel warning, "We're off course, we're way off." But the pilot choosing to press forward, saying, "Yeah, I got it." Earlier, they had talked about the lightning all around them that night and how they'd try shooting what they called a bowling alley approach, finding a clear way through the storms to either side. But now, as they touch down, the plane is again right of where it should be, and Auriel shouts, "We're sliding." Another call for brakes. There's swearing. But now the plane careens sharply across the runway, far to the other side. Straightens for a moment, more swearing, and it's too late. The plane skids off the runway, heads for a steep embankment. Auriel can never forget.
I couldn't see anything in front of us, and all I thought was the gear would collapse, and we would continue to slide, and it's got to be okay. And then all of a sudden, I felt the impact, from my left side. All I remember is this explosion, if you will, of glass and debris. I couldn't see anything. It was completely dark in the cockpit. As I put my weight on my left foot, I collapsed behind the console, and I couldn't move.
Auriel's crewmate, the pilot, did not survive. 10 passengers also died, more than 80 injured. Today, Auriel told investigators he'd never seen such weather. In hindsight, admits he'd do things differently. And investigators want to know if there are lessons for other pilots, other airlines. Should they do things differently as well? Exercise more caution. Realize that landing through wild weather, one day the odds can catch up. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
On Wall Street today, the blue chips ended in positive territory. Technology stocks, however, took a hit today. The Dow finished the day up a little more than 3 points. NASDAQ tumbled 97.5 points. Much of that on the cellular phone chip maker Qualcomm, which lost 16% of its value today, which has been running very high on earnings worries. I'll be right back. Tomorrow night, President Clinton delivers his final State of the Union speech, and no one should be surprised if it fits neatly with the campaign game plan of his friend and Vice President Al Gore. Tonight, we continue our look at various parts of the State of the Union and focus on a critical element, the family. As NBC's Rahima Ellis reports, the changing family model is having a widespread effect.
Mike and Lisa Christensen look like a traditional American family. She's an at-home mom in California caring for 3 kids, making dinner the same time, on time, every day, just like her mom used to do. An image of the family even older than Leave It to Beaver.
Beaver, if he did run, he'd win.
But look closer, past the dinners and the homework.
The traditional roles, at least from my perspective, have been pretty much shattered.
The state of the American family today. They may be both divorced. Mike and Lisa remarried 3 years ago. The children, 3 sons from his first marriage.
The kids just recently came to live with us. Mike just was granted custodial custody of them.
The old images of the family will fade even more in this century, experts say. Families like the Christensens and all kinds of variations will become the norm.
There are so many major family types. Single-parent families, traditional families with only one worker, modern families with both parents working, blended families, reconstituted families.
Tom Smith studies changes in the family over a quarter century, dramatic changes. In 1972, 3/4 of all adults were married. Today, a little more than half.
People marry later. They divorce more frequently.
From just 17% divorced a generation ago to 33% today. And while married with children represented almost half of the households in 1972, That number today, remarkably, just 1/4. Children living with single parents, less than 5% back then, almost 20% now. And the human impact of all these changes? In Ridgewood, New Jersey, therapist Robert Klopfer deals almost exclusively with stepfamilies. He says everyone feels the upheaval, even grandparents.
So that when their child divorces, they frequently lose contact with their grandchildren.
Even Hallmark recognizing new kinds of families, launching a new line of cards, especially for non-traditional families. One points out, sometimes it's hard to know how we all fit together.
You just kind of shoot from the hip and do what you think's best and work a whole lot on common sense.
Common sense and uncommon territory, the modern American family, more complex than ever before. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, New York.
That's Nightly News for this Wednesday. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night.